Hello and welcome to today's session. It's good to have you here. Thank you for joining this informational webinar as we learn more about this upcoming program here at Columbia Business School Executive Education. This program is Value Investing in Technology. As mentioned, we're going to be learning all about this program. This is an informational webinar, and we're going to cover two key areas as we make our way through the session. Firstly, you're going to learn all about the content of this program. What can you expect to learn? What is that curriculum, and how's it going to add value for you? And the second thing we're going to touch on is how is the learning experience? So what is that day-to-day experience like? If you really want a better understanding of some of those more tactical components of being a participant in this course, we're going to give you insights into all of those areas here today. We are joined by your program leader who's here to tell us all about the course. I'm going to hand over that spotlight here in just a moment. But firstly, we did want to call your attention to the question and answer box. As we make our way through the session, we are joined by a team of program advisors. They're here with us, and they're here with you every step throughout today's session and beyond. So we want to get you connected with an advisor. They really are the course experts when it comes to all of the logistics for the program. If you're looking to know when is the next run of this course, or any of those other logistical questions about dates or times, if you'd like assistance with the registration and enrollment process, or if you have any questions related to the course or the course policy, they are the experts, and they're right here with us in the question box helping to answer questions. So be sure to let us know what's on your mind. We'll make sure you get an answer, if not during the session, then shortly after. With that, I'd now like to introduce our keynote speaker, star of the show, subject matter expert here, Nelson Fields. He's a program leader here to tell us all about this program and what you can expect. I'm going to come back in towards the end and talk more about those learning experience pieces. So make sure you stay on throughout the entire session. But for now, very happy and honored to hand over that spotlight here to Nelson Fields. Thanks for being here with us. Over to you, Nelson.
Yep, thank you very much for the intro. My name is Nelson Fields. I am a Columbia Business School alumni, graduated in 2017. And my investing journey started when I was a junior in undergrad at Colorado State University. I grew up in Denver, went to Colorado State, and went as a business major. Thought I would do marketing, but my Finance 101 professor recommended reading The Warren Buffett Way, and I caught the investing bug like that. And I knew almost right away that I wanted to do something in investments as my career, and really started digging into investing. And one of the things that always attracted me was going to Columbia Business School, and they have a value investing program there, which I'll talk about in a second, but was fortunate enough to work in the field for about 8 years at a hedge fund in San Diego, and then go to Columbia Business School to be a part of that investing program. Have since been with First Foundation in Irvine, California for the last 5 years, and now manage a portfolio that's more growth oriented, but is, I think, maybe 40–50% invested in technology. So I think I have a very unique view on value investing in technology, but we can go ahead. Next slide, Marie. Thank you. And then just to meet the team, this is beyond myself as a program leader. This is Tano Santos, and he is the Helbrun Center is like the permanent seat for value investing at Columbia, but he is the Robert Helbrun Professor of Asset Management and Finance Director at the Helbrun Center. And he basically co-taught value investing while I was at Columbia in 2017. He was teaching with Bruce Greenwald prior to that, and Bruce Greenwald was sort of the figurehead for value investing at Columbia for probably 20 years, and Tano has taken that torch and run with it. And I think I have a colleague who says, Bruce Greenwald decrypted Warren Buffett and modernized Graham and Buffett. I think Tano is doing a very good job of taking that torch and furthering it into taking value investing into sort of the newer realms of investing, specifically technology. And I think this course focuses quite a bit on that aspect. Next slide. So this is Columbia Business School. It was the only school I applied to when I applied for MBA programs. And, you know, besides sort of the rich heritage of Columbia Business School, was established in 1916, a host of US presidents, justices on the Supreme Court, founding fathers. It is sort of right in the heart of New York, which gives you access as a student to all the practitioners that work in the area. So I had many classes with professors, adjunct professors who worked at mutual funds or hedge funds during the day, and then they taught at night. And I was lucky that, you know, they shared their time and experience with me. But there also is sort of the unique experience of the value investing program at Columbia. A couple hundred people apply to get in, and if you're fortunate enough to be one of those 40, it's a very rigorous academic program in your second year, and one of the classes is value investing. And I think this course, value investing in technology, would be, well, I always call it strategically, value investing is a philosophy. You can tactically employ that in different areas, and value investing in technology is the tactical application of the value investing strategy. And there's sort of unique characteristics of technology companies that we have to correct for. And this course is basically walking you through those corrections and thinking about what you need to do in looking at those businesses to value those and find attractive investment opportunities. Next slide. Right, so this program is for both mid-level and senior level professionals. So at the mid-level, you're either an individual investor, maybe you work as an analyst at a fund and you're just trying to augment your skill set and become a better investor, help advance yourself through that organization. I think this is a nice tool set for you to have. And then on the senior level side, maybe you're not making those specific investment recommendations. However, this gives you the skill set to evaluate what is being brought to you from sort of a mid-level finance professional, right? So I think from both the mid-level and senior level professional set, this is a helpful class for you to both understand and make recommendations and understand and evaluate those recommendations. Next slide. So, you know, we want to help you maximize your returns with the nuances of investing in tech-based organizations. And tech now is becoming sort of large in terms of the investment world, and it's permeating throughout the entire economy. I don't think that's any surprise, but so 26% of the S&P 500 is in the information technology sector. That used to be much lower. There now is a communication services segment, which includes Google or Alphabet, Meta, which is formerly Facebook, Netflix, etc., and that is 8%. So we're talking over a third of the S&P 500 is invested in information technology and communication services. But even beyond that, so one of the examples we use is Booking Holdings, and that's in the consumer discretionary sector. Also, Amazon is in the consumer discretionary sector. Uber, for example, is in the industrial sector. So the exposure of technology-led businesses goes well beyond just the third that would be invested in information technology and consumer services, comm services, sorry. So this is a very large and growing piece of the investment landscape. And I think if you ignore it, like many value investors had for, I would say, the past 15 years or so, you're at a disadvantage in terms of like maximizing your returns. So I think being sharp and smart on the subject matters, and I hope that this course can teach you that skill set. Okay, so just going down into program specifics. We want to help you understand the key differences in valuing tech-led organizations versus non-tech. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Estimate an organization's value. This is basically philosophically what value investing is. You estimate a value of that asset, and then you try to buy it below that value. And there are unique valuation techniques used in value investing in technology that we teach you. And those help you make educated stock selections and learn about the business, the industry, the economic factors impacting the modern valuation protocol. We help you examine the unique characteristics of technology organizations that create barriers to entry into the market and thus present beneficial investment opportunities. So the tagline there is not all growth is created equally, and not all growth creates value. And only growth behind a competitive advantage creates enduring value. And we help you assess the presence of a competitive advantage and how long that competitive advantage might last. And then lastly, become a strategic investor by applying the value investing approach to make informed investment decisions on even in a time of crisis. So this was a time of crisis for everything out there, but I think uniquely in tech was during COVID-19. And COVID actually helped accelerate some of the changes going on in the economy, particularly related to tech. And so that was sort of a unique experience that the whole world went through together. And what were sort of the opportunity sets that arose from sort of that event. And then if we move on to the next slide, this is sort of module by module. So we have 6 weeks, 5 case studies, but the first week is talking about the valuation of technology just as a broad subject before we move into the specific case studies. But on the right here, you'll see basically the investment protocol for value investing at large. And then this is applied to technology specifically in the following case studies. But the first piece of valuation is coming up with what you think the reproduction value of that business is, and we call that asset value. And so basically this is the value that firm would be worth if it was a free entry, no competitive advantage industry. And basically that's the dollar cost to reproduce that business. And that's generally, can be applied to any company, but in tech, the GAAP accounting standards, or how financials are filed, and the specific sort of generally accepted accounting principles applied to those financial statements were introduced before tech became such a large part of the economy. And so when you think about tech and applying the asset value methodology, you have to make certain adjustments on the financial statements to modernize GAAP accounting principles. And we teach you the techniques to be able to do that. The next valuation protocol is earnings power. And basically this is your value of the business based on cash flow, excluding any future growth. And if you believe there is a competitive advantage, that should show up in an earnings power value that's greater than the asset value, because there is a competitive advantage. It is hard to enter this industry. And so that business is producing cash flows above what they would be earning in a free entry type of industry. And then we move on to valuing growth, and that would be your total value. And then finally, we want to buy that business at a value that's below what we think the total value is, maybe even the earnings power value and perhaps the asset value. And that difference is what we call the margin of safety. And that's a principle that Ben Graham wrote about nearly 100 years ago. So when I talk about a strategy of value investing, this is what I'm talking about here, and tactically applying that to the technology industry. And then just on the next few slides, we'll be looking at the different case studies. So the first case study we go into on the next slide, you'll see is Meta, formerly Facebook. And this is really taking you through the first step in the process of valuing on the asset value side, Meta. And there's a lot of work involved in, like I said before, modernizing the financial statements to get you to a decent representation of what the reproduction value of Meta would be. The next example, I believe, is Adobe on the next slide. And again, this walks you through the asset value. Now we're talking about earnings power value as well, but also uniquely with Adobe, they made this transition from licensed software to a subscription-based software model, and how that impacted the stock. And also it created this opportunity in the financials that I think did not represent economic reality. So when you transition from licensing to subscription-based, you basically hurt the income statement for a few years while that transition happened, but subscription-based revenue is much more stable than license-based, gets a higher multiple in the market. And so that created a lot of value for Adobe shareholders. The next example would be Salesforce on the next slide. And that one is similar to Adobe, but this was the original software as a service business. And in fact, if you read Benioff's books, he talks about in the early days trying to gain awareness by saying, stop software. And in that case, he was talking about licensed, shrink-wrapped software. But software as a service was delivered over the internet on a subscription-based model, sort of like Adobe did in the 2013 timeframe, but Salesforce was doing this in 1999. So very early, and we use this example to look at organic growth and growth stocks, and this is like the original growth stock, if you will. I believe the next case study, if we move to the next slide, is PayPal. And we look at the fintech industry. I'm sorry, can we go to slide, let's see, slide 15, please. Yep, okay, thank you. We look at PayPal, the fintech industry, and just an interesting case study in how PayPal is disrupting the fintech industry. But it's kind of unique in that PayPal went up quite a bit in value, and in the last short history has not. So it's kind of an interesting case study about the the experience of being a PayPal investor. And then finally, our last case study is booking on the next slide. And we use this case study to show what investing in technology meant through the crisis, and specifically the COVID-19 pandemic, and what opportunities that created. So it is a digital travel agency. So as you can imagine, travel stopping really hurt this business. And we talk about what you needed to believe and forecast during that period to sort of build confidence that booking would be a good investment. And really, I would say this is a good example because a lot of investing is about being prepared for the right moment. You're not really having activity all the time, right? I'm talking about trading activity. You're really researching businesses, putting those in a file, if you will, and being ready to act when the opportunity arises. And had you been involved with booking or known about booking, understood the business model, had an intellectual opinion about booking, COVID-19 might have given you an excellent opportunity to enter that business. And I think for me personally, that was Visa or MasterCard. Great business models also in the tech industry. And COVID-19 really gave people an opportunity to invest in great businesses and franchises that otherwise would have been valued fairly or perhaps above fair. So I love this case study. So that wraps up our case study sort of specific walkthrough. But in the next slide, let's see, we're just talking about the hands-on experience of value investing in technology. And I think that when you put it into practice, what we're teaching you, that really helps reinforce the concepts. So you'll be using Excel to walk through valuation frameworks throughout the program to assess different organizations at varied contexts. On completion of each module, you'll go through a workbook to evaluate, compare, and contrast similar tech organizations and participate in concepts taught throughout the week. The next slide just kind of gives you a wrap up of what those case studies were. I just walked through those. And then I think finally, I'll just hand it back over to Marie to talk about some of the course specifics and logistics.
Thank you so much, Nelson, for being here and taking us through this course content. You know, one of the things that I noticed, sort of a common theme that came up again and again throughout your presentation, is this idea. You said this phrase, "We teach you how to do that." So a lot of what you highlighted from the very beginning towards, as you walked through those modules and how this learning unfolds, is really, giving you not only those strategies, those adjustments that you need, but also in order to have sort of that competitive advantage, but also teaching you how to tactically apply these. And that's really what this course aims to do. And I think you've highlighted that well here. You're learning the methodologies, you're learning how to apply them, and you're really deepening that understanding and that familiarity by examining these frameworks and methodologies in real world settings that really help to exemplify your learning in real life. So you not only understand those core concepts and frameworks, but really how they intersect and interact with the real world, and how they have that real world impact. So the result there is deep skills building, right? You're going to have that fully fleshed understanding about these concepts, how to apply them, why they're important, what that looks like in real world context, and how that impact have helped to drive change and growth. With all of that, that's going to allow you the skills really to be a powerhouse in your industry, and allow you to really become some somebody who can help affect and advance change. So that's really what this program is designed to help you do, really extend beyond the reach of what you'll find in a traditional classroom and really give you the tools to interact with your knowledge as you learn it. And so how does that look in real time? What is it like to be a student in the program? I'd love to invite Nelson back in here for a moment to talk about the role of a program leader, because one of the things you'll find in this course that really sets this course apart and makes it special is the ways in which we've capitalized on that kind of wealth of peer knowledge and peer learning. And you're going to be building a lot of relationships here in the program. You're going to learn from your course faculty here at Columbia Business School. You'll be able to interact and learn from. You'll be able to learn from your program leader. Now, these are, like Nelson, industry experts at the top of their field who are in this program with you, serving as your day-to-day guides and sort of like a teaching fellow, if you will, hosting office hours, giving you that individualized support, and grading your assignments and giving you that feedback that's really tailored to that relationship that you're building. You also have your peers here in the program. So you'll see these concepts coming to life in your industry area, in your geography, in your professional role. But through that peer-to-peer learning, you're going to see these concepts and these frameworks coming to life in other areas as well, other geographies and industries at different professional levels. And you're really going to get that holistic understanding. So you have a lot of engagement opportunities, not only professional networking, but building those relationships. So we'd like to take this opportunity to learn more from Nelson, your program leader here in the course, about the program and what that relationship is like. So we'd love to invite you back in, Nelson, and talk a little bit about your role as a program leader and really what you're doing throughout the learning experience.
Yeah. So just taking a step back, I personally went to Columbia Business School because I wanted to learn from practitioners, and investing really is a mentor-mentee type field, because you could be out there investing and sort of self-learning, but you really wouldn't know if you're doing it correctly or not, because investing is not a game where you get feedback, i.e. you buy a stock, you believe it's going to go up, the market actually takes that stock down. And so you're not sure if your analysis is right or wrong based on the immediate sort of performance of the stock. Over sort of a longer time frame, yes, you should be getting that positive feedback. And when I say positive, I mean that you're getting feedback in terms of whether or not you're doing it right or wrong. But that's over a 5+ year time frame. So to accelerate that process, it really is a mentor-mentee type learning experience, and program leaders are here to be your mentor. Like I mentioned before, I've got cumulatively 15 years of experience, 2 different places, plus Columbia Business School, where basically I was the mentee going through this. So I've gotten, I think, a fairly good and robust framework to help you through this process. And then specifically how that is employed is, one, weekly discussion boards on each module that everybody is participating in, and other students are helping to answer questions, but I'm also there to facilitate and answer any Q&A during that week. And so you have a specific question about something within a video, I'm there to help answer that question. And I think that is important feedback. Secondly, we have weekly office hours. So this is about an hour, right? Once a week, walking through module content where there's questions. If there's no questions there, or we've exhausted those questions, we talk about general investing questions, and then we have perhaps a specific additional case study where I'm walking through sort of my thought process on a particular company or example to help augment the learning that you've done during the week and sort of bringing my own experience to that module to help sort of broaden the lens that you're learning.
It's super helpful to hear, that perspective from you on what it is that you're really intending here as a program leader. Not only in this course are you providing that, that sort of teaching guidance, but really that mentorship. And that's one of the things, that set this program apart is really those different layers of teaching and learning and mentorship. From that peer level, from your individual learning and that impact on your own career, your own profession, your own investing, to those peer relational components, as well as that mentorship from an industry expert like Nielsen and that core faculty engagement throughout the program. So a lot in store here as you think about, we talked earlier about really extending beyond the reach of what's possible in a traditional classroom. And if you think of a traditional classroom environment you've ever been in, think of yourself, you sort of go into the lecture hall, you sit down, there's only a certain number of seats in the room. You've got about an hour on the clock, maybe 70 minutes or 90 minutes on the clock, a certain set of minutes to get through a certain set of content. And your lecturer, your faculty comes in and you race towards it. And how often have you been in a room like that where you've been taking notes and you want to write something down, you want to come back to it later, and you know that while you're writing it down, you may be missing something that's coming up next. So that pull and that tug with, and perhaps you record it yourself, you record the lecture so you can come back to it later. And what we're really trying to do here is really slow down that pace of learning and give you learning that allows you to interact as you learn, really breaking down those barriers in space and time, certain number of seats in the room. Well, we can open access to this program across the globe from the comfort of your own environment, so you can really apply and integrate your learning with your everyday life as you learn, and sort of build this lifelong learning journey that allows you to continue to stay relevant. And so we've really built a program that allows that learning to be interactive. You learn as you go at your own pace, and you're applying it in real world context. You're building those relationships, you're broadening your career prospects, and you're doing all of that with a high level of convenience. So we've designed this program for those of you interested in diving into some of the logistics here. This program is designed around a concept we call bite-sized learning. So there's at the beginning of each week, a set of content is released, and you and your peers have an entire week to make your way through that content around a schedule that works for you. So a lot of that content is asynchronous. You're going to be watching on-demand video lectures. You can watch them as many times as you need to really understand those frameworks. You'll step away from that learning, you'll roll up your sleeves, and you'll begin to interact with this knowledge through a lot of what you see here on your screen, that peer learning, discussion boards, real world application exercises, these weekly assignments aimed at really helping you to bring your learning into a place of practical application. And of course, those knowledge checks, discussion forums that really allow you to kind of bounce these ideas off one another and broaden your scope of understanding. All of that is happening, again, around a schedule that works for you. About 4 to 6 hours a week is what you'll need to devote to this program, and you get to choose those hours. So perhaps it's on your lunch breaks or in the afternoons when the children are sleeping. You really get to design your own schedule, and you have that week. So you're in cadence with your peers. You're all sort of making your way through that content together, but with that convenience of your own schedule. There are live components, as Nelson mentioned. These are office hours where you get a chance to turn on your audio and your visual and really talk to one another and engage in real learning discussions. All of this is scheduled in advance, so you'll have an opportunity to get those on your calendar. And if you have to miss one of these live sessions here, they are recorded and posted in the platform the next day, and they're available for the remainder of the program. So again, you'll have that on-demand or that simulated experience. If you have to miss a live session, you'll get to catch up on everything you've missed. You have access to this program for an entire calendar year. So beyond those modules and that intensive learning environment in the beginning, you'll continue to be able to interact with this content and with one another throughout that entire calendar year. So again, a high level of convenience, a high level of interaction. Those are the two words that describe the learning experience here. It's going to be convenient and it's going to be engaging, interactive, and it's going to keep you on your toes. So you're going to learn what you need to learn to really apply this knowledge, and you're going to do so in this vibrant environment. All of this really geared towards helping you to advance your career, build the skills and knowledge that you need in order to stay relevant and really showcase that learning. So you'll see here, the course does culminate in a chance for you to earn a certificate of completion. Your program advisor can tell you more about the criteria for earning this certificate, but upon successful completion of the program, you will be able to formalize your training here and earn this credential from Columbia Business School Executive Education. This is a digital credential that you can put on your social media, your LinkedIn, your resume, and really, bring it in with you to your job, and really helps to, again, showcase your learning and formalize your training. As this is another advantage, you're broadening your professional network, you're formalizing your training here, earning this credential, as well as all of that knowledge that you need to apply and really have an impact on your investing in technology. Last and final slide here. This is where you tell you all about next steps, and then we'll hear from Nelson again. We have a few questions that we'll ask. So stay tuned. Nelson's going to give us some advice about the industry, next steps, and what he sees coming. So, but here's where you'll go next. So as you're thinking about joining this program and learning more, as mentioned towards the beginning, our program advisors are the course experts. They have all of the knowledge here on next steps as you get your application materials together. So again, you might want to learn more about logistics. When are those live office hours? I want to get them on my schedule in advance. They can help walk you through that. Any policy questions, how do I earn that certificate of completion? What's the evaluative criteria? They can walk you through those details. And then of course, the registration and enrollment process. How do I get signed up for this program? What are the finance options? We have flexible and transparent financing options. They can walk you through those, as well as a robust referral system, and a special group enrollment pricing. So they can talk you through all of those different options as you seek to move forward here in joining this program. They also know when the next course runs will be. So as you're looking ahead at your schedule, they can give you those start dates so that you can really plan ahead. So a lot in store as you think about getting connected with an advisor. They really are your next step here. We want to make sure that that high level of relationship building and support that you can expect in the program begins right here today with getting you connected with that mentor, that advisor who can take you through next steps. So the way you get connected here, you'll see there's a link on your screen. And if you open the chat box, you'll also see a link there in the chat box that will take you right over to the course landing page. And as showcased here on your screen, that's what it'll look like when you get there. And it'll give you more information about the course. So take a look at that course landing page. But you'll see there on the right-hand panel, you'll have an opportunity to do three things. Firstly, you can download the full course brochure. It's a beautifully designed and comprehensive brochure that gives you that full scope on this program. So we encourage you to have a look. It'll give you that deep understanding about what you can expect here from your learning, and what some of those outcomes are. There are testimonials and other information. So take a look at that brochure. The second thing you can do is schedule a call with an advisor. That's one click away. You can pick a time that works for you in your time zone, and an advisor will give you a call, and you can kind of go through some of your questions and get that support that you need. And then the third thing you can do if you're ready now is go ahead and hit that apply now button and apply for the program. And that will take you right on over to the apply page where you can build that profile and begin engaging with the course. So a lot in store here for you as you think about what's next. We hope you've enjoyed the session. I'm going to stop sharing the screen now and invite Nelson to come back into view. We'd love to hear from you, Nelson, as we close out the session here. Any thoughts or advice about what's coming in the industry? I know you're a value investor, you're a subject matter expert. You went through Columbia Business School, and you've worked with a lot of, as you said, faculty who were hedge fund during the day and teaching. So you've engaged with this industry. And as you think about technology and sort of the change and the horizon, I would love to hear your perspectives on the industry and what's coming.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny. I was writing down some notes, and I think investing in tech is a two-sided coin. On the one hand, you have like rapid growth, and really stock prices over the long term follow fundamentals, fundamentals being sort of your sales and earnings over time. But coupled with that is, on the other hand, disruption, and the sort of disruption going on because of the fact that you can grow your business rapidly is very high in tech. So it is a two-sided coin, and having sort of that ability to understand both sides of that coin is really important. So I would say what's coming, right, is more disruption and understanding sort of investment opportunities from the lens of what might not be disrupted is important, or what will be the disrupting technologies to think about later on. So just back to one of our case studies, Meta, if you thought about what the risks were in Meta 10 years ago when it IPO'd, you would not have on your list sort of the things that they're facing right now. So that would be regulation, because the government thinks they're perhaps a monopoly. Changes to app tracking transparency from Apple affecting Facebook's business model, or Meta's business model. And then finally, just the competitive disruption from TikTok, and the changing sort of landscape from a social network derived business model to an AI driven sort of attention grab that is TikTok. And so that would be sort of what I would recommend is staying abreast on two things. One is the disruption going on in technology, and two, what sort of business models can combat or take advantage of that disruption.
It's such good advice. And it causes me to wonder, how to best prepare for this. So we need to be agile. Sort of, we know the half-life of skills today. The World Economic Forum has said the half-life of the skills that it takes today is about 5 years. So what that means is that to be relevant in 5 years, you have to continue learning. You have to continue advancing your knowledge base. And certainly as we think about the disruptions you're describing in technology, sort of this push with AI and how that impacts business models, and how a lot of this change is unpredictable, as we've seen in recent years. So how can we best approach and prepare for some of these disruptions and ensure that we're sort of staying ahead?
Yeah, well, I would say, just going back to the idea that value investing, and I'm just going to outline this in the realm of investing. So value investing is a strategy that has stood the test of time. Ben Graham wrote security analysis in the 1930s, having been wiped out by the Great Depression, believed there was a better way to invest. And he wrote then Security Analysis, which was the first book on investing based on fundamental analysis. And that philosophy should be the infrastructure that you build additional tactical applications on. And I would say that our course here is teaching you sort of the philosophical understanding of value investing, but more importantly, the tactical application of that philosophy within the tech sector. So I think when you think about the half-life of skills being short, the philosophy of value investing is a timeless idea, but the application of that philosophy has to stay up to date. And I think that's the important part, is the coupling of having a timeless strategy with the sort of adjustments and tactically changing the application of that strategy.
And I think that's one of the things too, I would say that this course really offers, is that chance to explore not only sort of the conceptual and the philosophical components, but the tactical components as well, the practitioner components, really how to apply your learning, and how the learning is exemplified through these real world examinations and applications. So you're really, sort of graduating from this program with that knowledge, but the skills and tools to apply it and the practice having done so, as well as all of the rest of the advantages that we spoke about. So it's really quite a remarkable program here. Thank you for being a program leader in this course and being so dedicated to advancing the skills and knowledge in this industry. And really helping to break down some of those barriers of access to the incredible wealth of knowledge here at Columbia Business School and making that affordable and accessible across the globe. So very grateful for your work here, Nelson. Thank you. Any final words of wisdom, words of advice you'd like to share out before we close the session today?
Sure. I would just say, if you found a passion in investing, I think this course helps, because I come into my job every day not thinking about work. I think about, like, from a passion perspective, that I love doing this stuff. And if I had some other job, I'd be doing this at night. So if you have a passion for investing, if you have a passion about learning about business models, a passion about really just learning in general, because I think with investing, I'm fortunate that I get paid to learn effectively. And so this really is an industry where your curiosity can take you anywhere. And for the past, I would say 5 years, a lot of that curiosity has led investors to the tech sector. And I think that's been beneficial. But just thinking about investing in general, and for those who are passionate about it, I think this is a really interesting course to take you to perhaps another level and continue on that investing journey.
I've learned so much here from you, Nelson. Thank you again for being here and taking us through this content. Let's go ahead and close out the session. But before we do that, last call to take a look at that chat box. Grab the link if you haven't done so already over to the landing page. Any other questions that you have, we're here to support. You have 24/7 program support starting now and throughout your entire course experience. So we want to make sure you get the help that you need. So certainly reach out through your program advisor, grab the link from the landing page, and we hope to see you here in the program. Thank you all for joining. Special thanks again to our host, Nelson Fields, for being here and staying all the way through the end to answer questions and walk us through next steps. With that, we now close out the session, wishing you all a very happy good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good day to all of our colleagues from around the globe. Welcome to this community. Thanks for joining, and we hope to see you back soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.